All right, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Let me bring this down. We got to talk about Trump declaring war on the banks. We are also talking about the banks' war on crypto and how they're trying to control the whole entire blockchain technology takeover. Banks are very scared right now. Banks are also Scott Besson also declared war on financial institutions that helped perpetrate the fraud in Minnesota. But man, banks are the wake up call is here. If you own XRP, if you own Bitcoin, if you own Ethereum, man, like these banks are greedy, bro. These banks are so greedy. We got to talk about what the banks like Jamie Dimon, what they're doing. There was a Crypto Clarity Act that, speaking of XRP, is supposed to give life to XRP, HBAR, and a lot of different threats to the financial system, right? And this is crazy. We also got to talk about Iran. Iran was or is in talks with Trump right now. And man, the banking system, we got to talk about the banking system. What I have found, so there was a Clarity Act. The Clarity Act was supposed to pass. There were talks about bringing it through the Senate so Trump could then sign it into law. What happened to the Clarity Act? Well, the U.S. Senate now has to restart the Clarity Act. Coinbase basically came out accusing Jamie Dimon, Chase Bank, for being predatory. Now, we know that Trump has declared war on credit cards issued by these banks that are very predatory. So I want to play this video right here because it says here, banks have always been predatory, right? Banks are trying to destroy your right to earn when they loan out your money and profit from within. A lot of people say crypto is a Ponzi scheme, but when you really learn about banks and the Federal Reserve, that's why I said Trump going to war with Fed Chair Jerome Powell is much bigger than a lot of people realize. Trump is breaking the fourth wall. Trump is basically pointing out that, look, the Fed's independence, what does that really mean? These people are running a monopoly on the American people. So this is Coinbase. This is where people buy their crypto. This is one of the biggest exchanges in the world. And the Clarity Act was supposed to pass. It was a very hyped up Clarity Act, hyped up. Again, if you have XRP, if you have all these different cryptos that you're holding, the Clarity Act is really supposed to, ensure you. But what the bank started to do is they started to literally go from senator to senator, and they began to start paying these senators to sell out, right? Stable coins. What is a stable coin? Stable coin is where you swap from a crypto to the US dollar and it stays stable and you get paid out a yield. Guess what? Banks are trying to stop stable coins from rewarding. So if you hold the stable coin on Coinbase, what banks are trying to do with this Clarity Act is they're trying to stop a yield. They're trying to stop the rewards, because what that does is that threatens the banking system. Well, I want you actually to take a listen here to what he had to say about the banks. This is Coinbase CEO.
Well, I think the high-level principle here is that we can't really have banks come in and try to kill their competition at the expense of the American consumer, right? People in America should be able to earn more money on their money. I think stablecoins are an opportunity for banks. They should be able to build great product lines with this. It's an opportunity for crypto companies. Congress and the laws that get passed, they should really create a level playing field and say, this is allowed, this is not allowed. Now, all American companies, go compete, try to build the best products and services. That's great. What's not great is if the banks can put their thumb on the scale to try to kill some of their competition, and they only pay about, 14 basis points on the average savings account. Consumers should be able to earn 3.8% on their stablecoin rewards. And so we're going to keep fighting for our customers' rights. And
yeah, so stable coins, they act like a bank, right? Stable coins are basically where you go from holding Bitcoin or you go from holding a crypto and you put it on a stable coin and you earn profits from holding. It's like a bank. But Chase Bank and all these other banks began to lobby Congress to change up this bill to become predatory. And if the Clarity Act goes through, I'm gonna be honest, it's pretty much the end of crypto. It might not be the end of Bitcoin, but it damn sure will be the end of a lot of these cryptos, because now you're over-regulation, the over-regulated structure of that same exact bill, 4,000 pages. right? So here we go. Let's keep listening.
And the 52 million Americans who use crypto every day.
I mean, what would you say to the argument that banks have put forward that because of the role they play in the economy, the loans that they make, if they do wind up seeing billions of dollars, as some have estimated would happen going from banks to stablecoin, they say that could have a big impact on the economy. What's your response to that?
Yeah, well, banks don't have a monopoly on lending money. Actually, crypto is doing quite well in this area as well. And crypto is a technology to update all parts of the financial system, whether it's lending, capital formation, et cetera. So I think banks do play an important role in the economy and making these loans. Crypto should be allowed to do similar types of activity. We're not engaged in fractional reserve lending. That's an important point, by the way, because the bank license, what that really allows you to do is fractional reserve. The banks don't have all of your money there. That's why there's so much oversight and you can have these runs on the bank. Stablecoins have 100% reserve, right? And they're all the assets now post-Genius are held in this short-term US treasuries. So in my view, it's actually a safer place to store your money, and crypto companies should be allowed to compete and offer loans just like banks.
Exactly. So I want to go here real quick. I want to read this, right? This is very important. 53 banking associations just wrote themselves a $6.6 trillion protection bill. That's what the Clarity Act became, right? They called it the Clarity Act. Here is what they don't want you to understand. Banks pay depositors a 0.1% interest. Stablecoin issuers hold treasury bill earnings 4.5%. If stablecoins could pass that yield to users, banks lose the deposit war. They cannot compete. The math is fatal for banks. So crypto and these exchanges are basically going to war with the banks. The Kansas City Fed calculated what happened if stablecoins pay competitive rates. Banks lose 25.9% of the deposits. 1.5 trillion in lending capacity vanishes. The entire community banking model collapses. Their solution was not innovation. Their solution was legislation. The Clarity Act, everyone is celebrating, contains Section 404 prohibition yield payments through any mechanism. Not just from users, not just from issuers, from exchanges, from affiliates, from partners, from every single pathway to competitive returns closed by statute. Brian Armstrong, who is the CEO of Coinbase, reviewed the 278-page draft for 48 hours. He withdrew Coinbase support at 11 p.m. The markup was postponed by this morning. He saw what Wall Street analysts missed entirely. This is not crypto regulation. This is Dodd-Frank for digital assets, incubants, writing rules that crush competitors, regulatory capture so brazen they published the lobbying letters of their own website. The American Bankers Association, 52 state banking associations, the Community Bankers Council, all coordinating to eliminate an industry they cannot beat in open markets. Meanwhile, China made a ECNY interest bearing on December 29th. America is banning stablecoin yield while Beijing is paying it. The crypto industry spent years begging for regulatory clarity. They got it, right? So clarity that 6.6 trillion in deposits will be protected at any cost. Clarity that banks write the rules. Clarity that if you cannot win in markets, you win in Congress. This is the largest regulatory capture event in American financial history, and that is being sold to you as an innovative policy. This is crazy. This is supposed to be the Clarity Act. This is supposed to be, what a lot of people, have been looking forward to. A lot of, XRP holders, a lot of people. You're just basically giving banks more power than they can even imagine. Here is a video I also wanted to play for you. Somebody said, hey, Lou, has Trump invoked the Insurrection Act in Minnesota? Not yet. But I know that there's different type of people. I think there was more. I don't think it was the National Guard, but I think it was like more federal agents were heading toward Minnesota. We got to talk about that as well in the United States of America domestically, what's going on. But here we go. Here is a video I want to show you guys. It was a Ponzi scheme from day one. The biggest Ponzi scheme is the bank. It's the Federal Reserve. It's the dollar. I told you guys. So I've been telling you guys this. This is why I'm heavy on crypto. This is why I'm heavy on cryptography. So I'm heavy on Bitcoin. Take a listen.
So why is being a full reserve bank such a threat to the financial system? Why won't they allow that to happen?
Well, in a nutshell, because banks have a monopoly on the creation of fiat currency, and it's a Ponzi scheme.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to create £1,000, if you don't have a banking license, you go to prison. But if you have a banking license, then you have the ability to create a digital currency every time you issue a loan. And so you create £1,000 and then you charge an interest on that. The only challenge is the money to repay the interest doesn't exist. And so the only way to get the money to repay the interest is to persuade somebody else to take on a loan. And so you have this perpetual cycle that's guaranteed to completely bankrupt the people, bankrupt the corporation, and bankrupt the government.
So it was a Ponzi from day one.
It's a Ponzi from day one. And that's how the Bank of England, when it created this model, was created, and that was the transition to the Federal Reserve in 1913 after 2 attempts to do that. What we're witnessing today is inevitable, predictable, guaranteed. And so because the money doesn't actually exist to repay the loan, if you create a full reserve bank, then you would have an outflow, almost like imagine a stable coin right now, which is essentially backed by government debt in full reserves. If you allowed for you to exchange your bank deposit, which is fractional reserves in the Ponzi scheme, for full reserves, where you essentially own the asset, the government debt that backs the stable coin, you'd have a massive outflow of money from the fractional reserve system to the full reserve system. And so that is the issue. You break the banking system if you do full reserve. And so they will not allow you to do full reserves.
Yep. That is, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Ponzi scheme that these banks have been running from day one. That's why you see Trump coming out and literally speaking about, canceling these predatory interest rates, coming from, again, banks issuing credit cards, and, the American people, just the entire debt system as a whole. It's a very nasty game that they're playing. So I definitely want to come on and talk to you guys about that. And I wanted to talk to you guys about Scott Bessent as well, the announcement that he made. Let me make sure that I play it here, because this is everything to do with banks as well. Here's Scott Bessent. Scott Bessent said, it's a 16-second clip, but breaking. Scott Bessent announced that the Internal Revenue Service is launching a massive audit on financial institutions that facilitated the laundering of Minnesota funds. Well, that's one way to use the IRS. I know millions of people definitely are not paying their taxes. A lot of people came online. They were like, we're not paying taxes this year. We're not paying taxes this year because of all the fraud that happened in Minnesota.
Civil enforcement is auditing financial institutions that facilitated the laundering of Minnesota funds, in addition to helping support criminal and civil enforcement efforts. The IRS will also soon announce the formation of a task force as civil.
Yeah, so they have some type of task force basically going after, the institutions that allegedly did not know that all of that was happening in, of course, Minnesota. So that is something to be on a lookout for. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. There's so many AI channels acting like. That's another thing. I wanted to mention that on my main channel. Guys, there's a lot. Be careful with the AI channels, man. There are so many AI channels acting like conservative channels, conservative commentary or political commentary channels. They're literally AI. Like, this is crazy. They're literally AI channels. Yeah, a lot of people have come out and spoke about taxes. That's something I definitely wanted to talk about. Millions are not going to pay their taxes this year. That was like a movement. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene went out and literally said it in real time. He said, a lot of people are waking up. They don't want to pay taxes. They're done paying taxes this year. Let me actually see if I can. I got to pay my taxes, so I ain't trying to go to jail, man. But I do know that that's something that a lot of people have said. That, let me see. Can I actually? Okay. Here it is.
Is it time to get rid of the income tax that apparently mostly funds Somali fraud? A nationwide tax revolt is now brewing in response to apparently industrial-scale federal fraud, of which Somali daycares are the poster child, making it a wonderful time to ask, why are we still paying an income tax originally imposed as a temporary levy to finance World War I, which ended some time ago, and that apparently is used to fund that industrial-scale fraud. Now, I've estimated in recent videos that roughly 1.5 trillion of welfare spending is either literal fraud or is unnecessary, going by welfare in the 1950s. Tossed in crony Wall Street handouts, roads to nowhere, military procurement between friends, tax-funded research on squirrel menstruation and bioweapons in Wuhan, and it's probably north of 2 trillion. Now, this is interesting because that's awful close to the entire 2.4 trillion the federal government stole last year in income tax. In other words, fraud and waste absorbs nearly every dollar you give the IRS. In fact, if you end the fraud and waste, throw in the 300 billion Trump plans to collect in tariffs, you are there. No more annual financial colonoscopies, no more paying lawyers and accountants to keep your small business from being seized, no more choosing between paying rent, paying health insurance, or funding Somali daycares. Happily, we have a president who repeatedly floated eliminating the income tax in last year's election, the first president in history to do so. Last July on Joe Rogan, Trump praised the late 1800s as the golden age for the American economy, noting it was, quote, all tariffs, no income tax. Last month, Trump said, quote, I believe that at some point in the not too distant future, you're not going to have income tax to pay. Now, beyond the joys of no longer getting fleeced by Somalis, the economic benefits would be tremendous. Studies, including one by Obama's lead economist of all people, estimate every dollar collected in tax destroys $2 to $3 of economic output in the form of weakened incentives. As in, just like cigarette taxes reduce smoking, income taxes reduce income, known as work or entrepreneurship, suggesting the 2.4 trillion of income tax actually destroys roughly 5 to 7 trillion a year, which is up to 54,000 in annual income per American family. Remember, that's above the 2.5 trillion it steals. So total gain could literally double Americans' take-home pay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, those are some of the benefits versus the minus as to what paying taxes or what taxes have been used for. Taxes being taken out of your check, or you having to file a 1099, W-2. A lot of people have been paying taxes for decades. Really, they've been very loyal to paying taxes because that's just the thing to do, right? That's just normal. It's just normal. It's normal for us. It's normal. But here's something that's not normal, right? Or it's been normalized. A lot of people realizing, studying history, I think that's probably one of the main reasons why Trump was like, hey, you know what? Let's bring back tariffs. Let's bring back the system. You know how legendary Trump would be if he were able to eliminate income tax by just using tariff revenue to pay the IRS budget. So, but here's something that's not normal. Apparently, the IRS is using AI to target middle class. Like IRS using AI to target the middle class. And I want to go here to a representative that was breaking this down. Here we go.
What we have learned is that the IRS, in fact, has been using AI to access bank accounts of American citizens without any kind of a search warrant or even without any specific claim that they have committed a crime. So this was something that was discovered by an undercover journalist. And what they found is that the IRS has claimed that they have access to every single person's bank account. This person also indicated that they've been working with the Department of Justice and that they have absolutely no problem whatsoever going after the little guy to make sure that they are paying their taxes. This is such a blatant violation of the Fourth Amendment that Jim Jordan and I sent a letter to the IRS demanding that they provide additional information about what they are doing with AI and what they are doing to protect the civil rights of American citizens.
So, Congresswoman, what's the end game here? Because at the end of the day,
that is like crazy predatory behavior from the IRS against the middle class. It's like the middle class is like getting erased. It's like the middle class is getting erased. And I definitely want to talk more again about AI how these institutions are literally the enemy of the people, and now they're using artificial intelligence to try to like literally get you to do what you gotta do. You gotta pay your taxes. Gotta pay your taxes. Right. So last story here I want to talk about, right? So the bank's war on crypto, on the Clarity Act, right? And then Iran. I want to talk about Iran real quick. If you're here, make sure to smash the like Palantir. Yeah, Palantir. I got like we'll talk about Palantir Technologies as a whole too. We'll talk about all the surveillance state that we are headed to. Make sure to smash the like button. We should have over 200 likes. If you can smash the like button, I appreciate everybody. If you haven't subscribed, share this video to everybody. We talk about investing. We talk about the economy. We talk about numbers. We talk about politics, how this is all literally interconnected. There's no escaping politics in the economy, obviously. So something happened, right? And this is one of the craziest stories in the world, in my opinion. Like what's happening in Iran, right? It's so crazy, right? So not only are they targeting civilians, they have the Islamic Republic. It's a regime there that a lot of people are anti that. But I want to talk about what happened to Iran's currency, how it collapsed overnight. And this is one of the craziest situations. I actually want to play this video. It's the last video I'll play, guys. This guy is smoking at the very beginning, so don't mind that.
Guys, come take a look at this. What you see here is not a tech stock or your favorite meme coin. What you see here is the value of the Iranian rial, which has been devalued by 95% in the last couple of months. Let's get into it. Imagine waking up one day and your life savings are completely wiped out. That's what's happening to the people in Iran. It started all about 4 months ago when the Iranian parliament approved of removing 4 zeros from its national currency. So as you can see, the government, no matter what government, does not have your best interests at heart. We've seen this happen time and time again. It's not just one government. As long as a country can print money, they will print money on behalf of their citizens. This happened in Venezuela. We've seen it happen in Lebanon. We've seen it happen in a lot of different countries, and it's going to continue to happen until people, us, we choose a better money. I saw this on Twitter, and it serves a valid point. It says, Bitcoin is up 2,600% in Iranian rials because of the currency collapsing. So Iranians who held Bitcoin preserved their wealth, while Iranians who trusted their government lost 96% of their life savings. Everyone deserves money that their government can't destroy, devalue, inflate away, confiscate, all that. So this is a valuable lesson for everyone around the world. Even if you're not from Iran, pay attention. 1 Bitcoin is now worth over 100 billion Iranian rials. So that means if you had saved your wealth in Bitcoin, you would be rich right now. The people that did not save their wealth in Bitcoin got wrecked. And keep in mind that if you live in America, it's not all good, because the US dollar has lost 90% of its purchasing power since 1913. So you're seeing the same thing happen to you, just in slow motion. So if you made it this far, you have a choice to make. Are you going to continue to work for money that can be printed and devalued? Or are you going to switch to a better system? This will continue to happen until morale improves.
Or you can buy gold and silver. You can buy whatever asset you think is going to beat inflation, right? But you saw a crazy collapse in Iran where their entire money is literally went to zero overnight. This is a real story. This is not a fake story. If you go to Iran's, just search up Iran's currency. This was one of the look at this. This is a real thing, guys. This is real live news. I'm not even making this up. This is real life news. This is why I made this channel, because I believe that something big is happening around the world, showing you exactly what has already pretty much happened. Zero. Iran's real is literally worth zero. There's nothing. So if you were saving in real currency or dollars or whatever, you literally lost everything. You know what I'm saying? You lost everything. So that's why I believe, we got to be extremely extremely careful. That's why precious metals, that's why, you got to buy, you have to, when you get your US dollars, you have to buy assets, things that appreciate, things that you can't print more of, things that are valuable, right? You cannot make more of this. You have to buy things that are valuable. You cannot want to get rich in dollars, because then your purchasing power is controlled by the government. It's controlled by the Federal Reserve that can print as many of those dollars as you have. So I'm not here to tell you what to buy. I'm here to warn you and try to help educate each other on behalf of assets to buy. That's why you see silver at an all-time high. Silver cracked over $90+. If you were holding silver, you outperformed the dollar, you outperformed the stock market, you outperformed everything. If you were holding gold, you outperformed everybody. So it's very important, ladies and gentlemen, that you are very aware of the financial system collapsing right in front of our very eyes. We're seeing it with other countries. So be sure to smash the like button. I appreciate you guys. I hope that we can grow this show. I want to do 3 or 4 shows a week where we talk about investing, we talk about politics, we talk about it all on this channel. Obviously, you can follow me on LV Nation. LV Nation is where I talk about, what's happening in Minnesota, what's happening with Tim Walz, what's happening with Iran, what's happening with our current politics, stated politics, what's going on with our Congress, senators, everything put together, what's happening in California. So, but on this channel, I definitely want to focus more on investing. Somebody said, let me answer some of your guys' questions. Let me actually put the comments on the stage here. I know somebody had a question for me. Lou, what platform should I try? I tried Voyager and lost $800 because they went bankrupt. I've been shy on it, but willing to try again. Wow, they did go bankrupt. That's terrible. So Voyager, what is that? Like an exchange? What is that? Voyager, what is that? An investment network? What is that? What is it, like a crypto platform, an exchange? What is that? Please explain to me what that is. And why'd you lose $800? Why did they go bankrupt? I think I've heard about them. Yeah, some of the best again, you gotta. So if you buy, let's say if you buy XRP, if you buy Bitcoin, if you buy Ethereum, if you buy Solana, even if you buy SUI, right? You have to buy it on exchanges and have a private wallet with your private keys. So that way that money is controlled by you and nobody else. What's a good platform to start with? Coinbase, Kraken. There was actually a platform that wrote me. I forgot the name of them. They actually wrote me. They said they saw some of my videos. They said they wanted to work with me. Caleb and Brown. But again, I'm not going to recommend them. I don't know. I know I have a call with them in a few days. I'll talk to them. They're some type of exchange platform. But again, the goal here is to buy, you have to buy in these exchanges. If you're buying stocks, you have to buy, you can buy on Robinhood, you can buy on, Schwab, you can buy on Fidelity. There's a lot of different platforms, but if you're buying crypto, I bought my crypto on Robinhood or Coinbase, and I transferred it over to my private wallet. Very important you get a private wallet depending on how much you want to buy. Democrats caused the going away for the middle class due to Joe Biden opening borders because of I'm only stuck in the nursing home month to month. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry that you're going through that. What about ETFs? There's a lot of great ETFs. Obviously, you can invest in the S&P 500 ETFs. You can invest in, again, I'm not telling you what to invest in at all, but if you want to, beat inflation, you just invest in the S&P 500. So SPY, VOO, VOO. You can invest in technology ETFs like QQQ, QQQM, SCHG, stuff like that. You can invest in stuff like that. Again, I don't invest in any of that because I think Anything that has to do with the dollar. I'm just so allergic to the dollar, man. What do you get? A private wallet. So a private wallet you can get from Trezor. You can get from Ledger. You can get from Tangem private wallets. I have a Trezor wallet. You can use a Tangem wallet. You can use, just get all the wallets that you can, and do that. Where is the Insurrection Act invoked? He is a ceremony. He said he may invoke it. Yeah, that's gonna be. Yeah, and you guys don't. Here's another thing. Like, everybody thinks that they have to invest in. I would tell you buy Bitcoin and try to hold on to it as long as you can, right? Because you're gonna outperform everybody in the long run. It's scarce, but you can buy the ETFs too. You can buy crypto ETFs. You can buy a IBIT, which tracks the price of Bitcoin. You can buy BMNR that tracks Ethereum. Tom Lee, who is one of the biggest financial advisors in the world, or analyst, he's backing Ethereum. There's ETFs for all the cryptos now, so you can do that too. A cold wallet is offline storage. Well, it's not an offline storage. It's just your keys go offline. So if you lose your wallet, your keys are offline, right? So that your specific crypto is attached to a specific 12 to 24 word security that is 12 random words, or 12 to 24 random words. That goes offline. But if somebody gets your keys, then your keys are no longer offline. Somebody has them. So you gotta act fast. How do you feel about Trump's brother's bank, World Financial? Yeah, they're buying a lot of Bitcoin. I know Trump is buying a lot of Bitcoin. Eric Trump is buying a lot of Bitcoin. They've been doing that for some time now. Again, my whole thing is, however you want to make, because the goal here is to make money, save it in assets. Make money, convert it into assets. Make money, convert. How are you going to make money? You can't invest in Bitcoin if you're not making any money, for real, right? Because what are you going to do? You're going to put your life savings there, but you don't have an income. So you got to focus on things that are going to make you money, so that way you can invest in the assets that you want. So you got to make money to buy gold. You got to make money to buy silver. You got to make money to buy Bitcoin. You got to make money to buy XRP or whatever it is that you're going to buy. You know what I mean? But the reason, you just got to buy things that are scarce, things that you can't print more of. I'm way past 40. That's all right. You have a long way to go, and you got to think about your family. You got to think about, the people that come after you, man. Bitcoin is slow and expensive. I mean, if you're going to go to the top two, choose Ethereum. You're thinking about it as expensive in dollars. This is small thinking, right? Why is Bitcoin still going up after all this time? Why is Bitcoin outperforming all the altcoins? Right? So you're thinking about Bitcoin in dollars. You're not thinking of Bitcoin in purchasing power. Why would Bitcoin be a $1.9 trillion asset? When I first started talking about Bitcoin on this channel, it was at 87,000. Why is it at 96,000 right now? Right? It's going up, and people are buying and saving in it because they believe that in the next 20 years, 10 years, that, it's just going to replace, it could replace a lot of things. It could do a lot of favors. So you're thinking about it, like, you have to think, do you think that XRP is going to outperform Bitcoin in the next 25 years or forever? Then you buy XRP. I don't think so. That's why I don't buy XRP. I don't buy any of these, centralized face notions that, like, there's people that control these things. They can dilute XRP. They can inflate it by making more. I'm not interested in XRP. I'm not interested in any of that stuff. I'm interested in one asset and one asset only, the greatest money ever known to mankind, which is Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Bitcoin is the greatest money ever made. You got to read the Bitcoin Standard. Why is Bitcoin important? Why do people still buy Bitcoin at 90,000? Well, because they're looking at the opportunities that it presents. Imagine being a grown ass man with no Bitcoin. Imagine being in your 50s and you don't even have a Bitcoin. Imagine you have kids and you don't even have Bitcoin, not even fractions of it, not even Satoshis, not even the ETFs. How can you be a grown ass man with no Bitcoin? That to me is so crazy. I feel like you're insulting me by not having that's crazy to me. A grown ass man with no Bitcoin. Like people, just do the knowledge, do the research on these things. In my opinion, if you want to get the knowledge from me, I'll share it. I'll tell you why I think this way. But boomers have a certain mentality than people who are Gen Z. I'm Gen Z by 1 year. I just made it to Gen Z. I'm the oldest Gen Z, really, 1997. So I think a certain way. I think about money in a certain way. I look at life a certain way, right? I'm thinking about what will come after me. What did the boomer class and the baby boomer class do to my class? Right? Like we are struggling out here. We are dying of overdoses. We are heavily addicted to things. The Gen Z, my generation is messed up, man, and a lot of it has to do with the money. A lot of it has to do with money. A lot of it has to do with the printing. So why are we the richest country in the world? We print the most, but there's still homelessness. There's still people who are extremely poor. That's why Bitcoin was created. Bitcoin was created in 2008, right? It was created in 2008 because it was an escape from the financial system that exists today. That's even worse, 10 times worse today. So when I look around, right, I look around and I'm like, man, like everybody I know is addicted to gambling, is addicted to drugs, is addicted. They're dying early. They're not having kids. You fix the money, you fix the world. It's just the way it goes, man. And, there's a lot of selfish people who just don't want to share knowledge, in my opinion, right? Bitcoin was made for that specific reason. You who are looking at me talk about this financial asset, and you're thinking I'm a retard. Why? Because you're retarded. The way you think about life is more like, oh, everything's a Ponzi scheme. That's a Ponzi scheme. But the dollar is a Ponzi scheme. You are literally invested in the biggest Ponzi scheme there's ever been, the United States dollar. There's nothing more Ponzi schemish than that. How can we be the richest country in the world, but have the most poor people, have people dying, have people not having kids? They don't even believe in the future of America because the system is so broken. Bitcoin brings hope to younger people. It brought hope in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, when people first got into it. They would say, wow, this is a hope for a better world. Doesn't mean that Bitcoin's the answer. It doesn't mean that Bitcoin's the end all be all, but you got to understand why it was made and why people fell in love with it. I'm not telling you. Somebody said Epstein created Bitcoin. Again, like, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. But who created the dollar? Who uses the dollar? So if you're trying to attach Bitcoin to Epstein, I can attach every bad person to the US dollar. In fact, you're more mad about Bitcoin and Epstein than you are about the banks raping people. Excuse my language, but you get what I mean. I looked into all of that. Again, I can look into the US dollar and the banking systems working with Epstein, but you still use the banks. Let me ask you a question. What bank do you use today? Do you use Chase, Bank of America? Come on now. Like, you want to play a silly game. That's a silly game to play when you want to not understand something. When you don't want to understand something, you use the analogy, oh, Hitler had a dog. Like, come on, bro. That's such a Democrat tactic to get people to not do their own research on something that they believe in. Epstein did not create no freaking Bitcoin. If that was the case, why are banks so scared of crypto as a whole? Bitcoin is the first crypto ever made, and then other cryptos followed it after that. It creates so many problems for the banking systems. You see the banks literally going to war with crypto today. So you're over here talking about Epstein. Talk about, but you have a bank. You know what I'm saying? Treasury, you're here talking to me about dollars. Like, it's crazy how people go out of their way to defend the banking systems, to defend dollars. All right. So that would be my debate to you is You're sitting here on this live stream defending the US dollar and defending the perpetrators that have fucked up the entire world. You're over here talking about Fidelity. You're probably using Chase Bank, but like, brother, okay, cool. You want to talk about the black market? No problem. Let's talk about the black market. Guns, would you guys say that guns are something that we use that are guns negative? Are guns a good thing? Are guns a good thing? Because last time I checked, guns have been used to do school shootings and take the life of kids. But does that mean that guns itself are bad? So just because people have used Bitcoin for very bad things, which they have, right? That was the whole Silk Road situation. Crypto has been used for so much bad, for so many scams. That's why I separate Bitcoin from any other crypto. You can't, like Bitcoin, you can't build anything on top of the network. Bitcoin is just Bitcoin. You know what I mean? So people want to use these analogies. You want to talk about gold? Let's go back to gold's history. Gold was literally used for literally the worst things back in what? Let's go back to the Roman days, right? Romans used a lot of gold. Romans, okay, beautiful example. What was Judas paid in to betray Jesus Christ? Come on. I mean, hey, let me tell you this. Before I get up out of here. To the 216 people watching this live stream, right? What was Judas paid in to betray Jesus Christ? I kill your whole argument right there. Like that is this is what I mean. Like, you want to talk about Bitcoin Epstein, but you're talking about silver and Bitcoin being something that you use over Bitcoin, and you're talking about Bitcoin is bad, but the man who betrayed Jesus Christ was paid in silver. But yet you use silver today thinking it's so good. Why? Why is it so good? So that's like telling me, oh, abortion is bad. I mean, abortions, right? When they use the 1% arguments. I'm just saying precious metals are the best, but I don't think so, man. I don't think so. Precious metals were used to betray Jesus. I don't buy precious metals. Good luck with precious metals. You're up 150% this year. I hope you keep growing. I will never bash you. But if you want to play these games with me, I'm just going to tell you, like, you know what I mean? Like, respectfully. You know, so again, like, I don't like attacking people, or I don't want to challenge you. I think precious metals is a great hedge against inflation and against the dollars and against currencies that constantly collapse. The only thing that our dollar is backed by is our military. And our debt is literally because we are the world's reserve currency, so we operate on a deficit. Yeah, I'm not trying to attack you, bro. I'm just challenging. I'm basically iron sharp as iron, right? So like, you challenge my thought, I challenge your thought, but I would never attack you as a human being. I'm just saying, like, these are some of my thoughts. Yeah, so the central bank and digital currency, that is what the banks are trying to do. This is what I'm saying. Like, there's a huge war with these predatory banks. What they want to do is, let's just say this is a Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, XRP, all of that, everything, right? Cross-border payments, very fast. Let's make the case for XRP, right? Banks, the way they're looking at it is they don't want to go extinct. Banks are a cartel, right? Like, banks are literally a cartel. So the central bank and digital currency is what they're literally trying to, like, collapse crypto, make people stop believing in crypto, which is peer-to-peer, and literally get you to use a digital currency that they only provide, that they make the rules of, right? That basically tracks your everything. Now, you can make the same argument about crypto, but with crypto, it's peer-to-peer. I have a wallet. Let's just say this is my wallet right here. No one can take this away from me. technically, right? Technically, they can't. They don't know what my keys are unless they, have guns in my head. God forbid any of that. God forbid, Lord Jesus Christ forbid any of that happens. But you get where I'm going with this. So CBDC is the bank's way of replacing crypto, which crypto is there to replace the banks. So that's what the banks are trying to do to the Clarity Act. 52 banking institutions started to print money, sent money, not print money, but they began to throw money at politicians so they can write a banking favorite Clarity Act that basically limits crypto's growth over the next 30, 40 years. A lot of crypto wallets have been frozen. That is false. That is false. A lot of crypto exchanges, hot wallets, have been frozen. That's why you have to get your own private keys. This is why I try to tell you there's a difference between you buying crypto on Coinbase, on Kraken, on a hot wallet versus actually grabbing the crypto from your Coinbase and sending it to your private wallet. The only way that they can seize it, they can seize this, but they'll never seize my private keys. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. That's why they go to Coinbase and they're like, hey, does he have any crypto in there? We have to seize that. And then Coinbase, because they're centralized, they have to say, well, we have no choice. We have to freeze your account. But that would have never happened if you would have been offline and your keys would have been offline. You're holding your own crypto. A primary crypto wallet is a ledger, is a treasure. These are the companies that make these wallets where they give you keys to your wallet and they go offline. So the government can't touch my crypto unless I own it on a public exchange or third-party wallets, which are hot wallets. Somebody said, break down how crypto can be converted into a physical into a physical asset in the non-digital world. What makes you think we're not gonna? We already live in a digital world. So when you go purchase something, when you use your credit card or your debit card, why don't they ask you for your physical then? Like, oh, let me get some physical dollars. We stopped living in that world a long time ago, because that world is the world of printing money. So you're thinking of so you think that assets are only physical. Then that's the world that you live in. If that's the world that you live in, and you think that the only thing that can be valuable is things that are physical, then good luck. Now let me ask you this: where do you hold your? This is the question I ask everybody that holds gold and silver. Where do you hold it at? Do you hold it at your home? Do you hold it in a bank? Where do you hold your physical gold medals? If you own a lot of them, if you don't, then you don't. No, there is no monthly fees for a cold wallet. There is no monthly fees at all. There is no monthly fees, right? You don't have to tell me, right? But most people, that's a good point. You don't have to tell me at all. Okay. My point I'm trying to make is a lot of people hold their gold in banks. They hold their gold overseas. You want to talk about something that the government can seize from you? Gold, silver. They can 100% get it from you. They will get it from you. If you owe the IRS and the IRS says it's go time, we need to take everything that you own. Guess what they're coming for? Damn, it got hot in here, huh? You put your silver, your diamonds, jewels, and save at the bank. But again, right? Cool. This is the silly arguments that I hear, right? This is the silly arguments. Watch this. Somebody just said that they can hold their gold in the bank. So you might as well just hold the ETF, brother. You might as well go buy a gold ETF. Because what's the point of you having your money in the bank when it could be seized? Or it could disappear in the bank. But guess what won't disappear? My crypto in my cold wallet. Like, that makes no sense. That's crazy. Brothers is out here trusting banks to hold their wealth I can't do it. I personally just cannot do it. I'm not going to be a part of that system. I can't. So that's why I think crypto beats gold in as far as storing your wealth. You can store your wealth offline. With gold, you have to literally store you have to go to the bank with all that gold. Or if somebody finds out you have all that gold, guess what? You better have security. You better have 10 weapons. You better have security outside. Somebody said if there's a blackout, guys, do you know how? Okay, this is another myth, right? That I had to learn about. Okay. So can Bitcoin actually go offline? No, Bitcoin as a whole can't go completely offline. It's decentralized across thousands of nodes worldwide, right? And as a Blockstream satellite radio waves or MSS, do you know how many satellites are literally working on behalf of Bitcoin? You could if you block the internet, you still cannot block crypto. Like, do you know how this works? Like, these are silly arguments. Methods like Blockstream satellite. What is a Blockstream satellite? Blockstream is what is used. So the Bitcoin blockchain from space, no internet required. Literally, there are like 14 satellites made by Blockstream. Blockstream is, a lot of people say this is who Satoshi Nakamoto is, but this is coming from Adam Back. The Bitcoin blockchain from space, no internet is required from it. The Blockstream satellite network broadcasts the Bitcoin blockchain around the world 24/7 for free, protecting against network interruptions and providing areas without reliable internet connections with opportunity to use Bitcoin. Why are other countries buying Bitcoin if you could just turn off the internet? Even if you turn off the internet, there are actual satellites in space for Bitcoin that literally shine bright on Bitcoin. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just saying, if these are silly behaviors, but whatever. I mean, I'm not going to convince anybody. Again, I'll tell you why I believe in it. Blockstream satellite around stations known as teleports participate in Bitcoin network and transmit blocks. The satellites literally are working on behalf of no network connection ever needed. Like, you don't even need a network connection. If the internet goes out tomorrow, Bitcoin won't shut down. It can't. It's impossible. And these are these are, look, we got one in North America, we got one in Africa, we got one in Europe, we got one in Asia Pacific, and then we got another one in Asia Pacific. And these are where they all shine down on, right here. This is the world. Let me zoom out. I can't zoom out, but I could zoom in. So there's a satellite for everywhere you go. It's beyond the internet. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's beyond the internet. Like, if the internet gets shut down, if there's a blackout tomorrow, Bitcoin will never lose. Like, it won't lose to that. But if the bank decides to seize your money, guess what will disappear? Your money will disappear. Right? So good luck. The biggest Ponzi scheme ever known to man is the US dollar. Mind you, if there's a blackout, nothing's going to matter. The only currency that matters is how many weapons do you have and can you protect your family? That's the only thing that matters. Like, people use these analogies just for Bitcoin, but they won't use it for any real world events. So, like, if there was a huge hack, right? Do you think that Bitcoin is their priority? Do you think that Bitcoin is their priority? If there's a huge hack, if there's a blackout, what's the world currency become? Safest bet is precious metals. I guess so, brother. I mean, if you could protect your precious metals with guns, then you can buy as many as you want. But guess what? When all push comes to shove, you have to really think about what life would look like. What would life look like in a blackout? You think I'm worried about my crypto in a blackout? I'm worried about my life. I'm worried about my family. I'm worried about did I buy enough guns? You know what I mean? Like I'm worried about, yo, did I do a good job buying guns? You know, so all right, guys. This is a nice live stream. Everything is fine. Enjoy the movie. Everything is fine. Everything is super fine. You know, as long as you got Jesus Christ to your side. All I'm saying is, you know, when we look at all these problems and where we're headed, our biggest enemy has become our own government, right? Our Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve says they're independent. They're an independent agency. What does that even mean? Like you're not though. You're not. Like you should be controlled by the president. You should be controlled. Like, why is the Federal Reserve having the choice to go against who the people elected? Like that's crazy. A whole bunch of unelected officials making decisions on behalf of millions of people. That is so wild to me. And that's why Bitcoin was created. The day that the banks got bailed out, right? Remember that banks got bailed out in 2008 and all the normal people got fucked, right? They got fucked. So that to me is evil. It's evil. What they've been doing is evil. In order to remain the world's currency, we have to be violent. We got to do things that are violent to people. We need the wars in order to make sure that we don't fall. Because the moment that the United States is weak, or any part of the world senses that the United States is weak, we will 100% be attacked. That's why Trump knows this. Every other president has known this. You got to keep that budget up. You got to keep spending, and you got to keep developing weapons. You got to maintain a strong military in order to maintain the wealth of the United States of America. That's the simple truth. Somebody said cash. Cash, brother, cash. You're talking to me about cash, the US dollar? Oh my goodness. I mean, you must not have been on this channel for the last 4 days. The US dollar has lost every purchasing power that it's ever had. That's why people go and buy assets. Are you talking to me about cash? My goodness, Lord have mercy. Cash? Brother, you are holding cash. You're literally losing purchasing power as you're holding cash. The US dollar's value. Let's go to the US dollar's value and index chart. I mean, it's so bad. Like the US dollar, how much value? I think it's about 96%. How much value has the dollar lost? Let's go to last year, 2025. So this is crazy. The US dollar's value lost depends on the time frame and benchmark. So let's actually go. So significant purchasing power over the long term, 96% purchasing power since 1913 due to inflation and about 10 to 11% against other major currencies in the first half of 2025. And you're talking to me about cash? Brother, inflation erodes purchasing power. That's why I said I buy Bitcoin, I buy more purchasing power, because that keeps going up in value. It's a more valuable money / commodity. Like, this is crazy. 96% of its purchasing power has eroded since 1913. That's why houses that used to cost what? $13,000, $14,000 in 1965 cost $1 million+ today, because the money kept being printed, and that causes inflation. That's why things get more expensive. So if you're holding the dollar, you're losing purchasing power. That's the problem. That's literally why people go and buy other assets. That's why people go and they're like, yo, I gotta go buy something else, man. I can't keep holding this dollar, because next thing you know, in 5 years, what you could afford today, you probably can't afford tomorrow. It's a debt-based slavery system. Yeah, but that's because we're the world's reserve currency. We literally work on debt. And like what are we, like 38 trillion, $39 trillion in debt? I mean, it's getting nasty out here. And you're over here holding the dollar. I mean, the day that dollar collapses, which it can, you're going to be holding the bag. People are going to be looking at you like, damn, bro, you got caught holding the bag. You can't get caught holding the bag. Yeah, so 1971, Richard Nixon went off the gold standard to print more money, to go to war, really, because we were going broke as a country. And you know, so the dollar bills were basically just a receipt that it was backed by gold. So it was a receipt of gold, right? And when we went off that system in 1971, from 1971 to now, you look at the maps, right? And you look at how many bad things have happened to people since we went off the gold standard, since you could print more. Like we've gone down the drain as humans around the world, but especially in the United States of America. It was a redeemable kind of tokenized, representation of gold and what gold was. Somebody said, I want to make my own crypto. Then it won't be centralized because we know that you want to hold it so you can make the most money. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I love y'all.